let me tell you a story. It's about Africa, our home, beautiful, prospering Africa. A place where our roots run deep into the nourishing land. This isn't a story about our past. It's a vision of our future. Look, there are our children, happy, playing, laughing. And there are our fields, green, growing, giving. Our tables are laden with food from our rich soil, fresh, nourishing, plentiful. This is our Africa. A prosperous and endless provider, a place of opportunity and possibility. Now, let me tell you about an organization that shares this vision. They are Food and Trees for Africa, and they run programs to shape the world of tomorrow. By listening, encouraging, and teaching, they are helping to unlock our most valuable resource, our people. People who will become our seeds, our future, and our legacy. Food and Trees for Africa have been working and yielding in this way for 30 years now because they have been supported by you. Everything is an ecosystem after all, and with your continued support, they will continue developing, innovating, and growing. Food, trees, people, and that vision for our collective future. Food and Trees for Africa. The stories we start never end.
Welcome online visitors, friends and family, members of the board, donors and contributors to the 30th birthday celebration of Food and Trees for Africa. I'm Tanya Visser and I'll be your host for this amazing celebration where we delve into the history, we look into the future and we honor those who have made this beautiful journey possible. Now, as a non-profit organization, we rely on funds to make sure that projects get off the ground, to make sure that there is food security and that we can be part of the journey of the story that never ends. Please, you will see in the link below, there is a donate button. Whether you're an individual or a corporate, a business owner, please feel free to donate to Food and Trees for Africa. You can also visit the website www.trees.org.za to give your contribution to this amazing organization. Before we enter the celebrations, we need to pay tribute to those members who have left us. Tall trees have fallen, who have had their roots firmly in the development of Food and Trees over these 30 years. Folks, I remember many board meetings sitting with Baba Joshua, Dada. He always just cut to the chase, that clarity, that wisdom that he had, and he will be sorely missed a lot. Folks, there are many people who have been instrumental in starting and the real, what we call pioneers of Food and Trees for Africa. And one of them I am proud to call my friend, mentor, the great Mr. Gardening of South Africa, my very good friend with a big, big heart, Mr. Keith Kirsten. We caught up with him a little while back and got some of his stories on the early beginnings of some of the first tree planting projects that formed the basis and the foundation of Food and Trees for Africa today.
Food and Trees for Africa, I think, was conceptualized in the late 80s. In the earlier days, it was actually just Trees for Africa, and then it became Food and Trees for Africa because we realized they needed boreholes in the townships to build it, and they needed food. The real core of it was planting and improving the lifestyles and the environments of the townships of South Africa. In the earlier days, it was an exciting venture, and it wouldn't have happened without, I think, the Jewish National Fund, without SANBI, which was a semi-government organization, and the Nursery Association. At the time, I was president of SANA, the South African Nursery Association. So it became an exciting project, and a daunting one actually as well, because it involved working with local communities in the townships, planting trees, getting to know the local communities. It was important always to work through a local organization, perhaps the youth group or the sporting group of a township, because in that way you got an intro into the townships and they didn't fear or think that you were just coming along paternalistically trying to do good. But we worked in the most amazing places, particularly to start with around Johannesburg. Mamelodi we went to in Pretoria. We planted trees in Orange Farm, we planted trees in Winnie Mandela Park, we planted trees in Deep Sloot in the very early days. We were always a mixed group that went. We had in Mamelodi, we had people like Kada Asmal, who was an amazing pioneer at that stage, and we had people like Joe Slovo, who was the first person who said that for every home there must be a tree. So during his period in office, we were planting trees wherever there was a new township. Toko Sekhwali came to the first tree planting in Deep Sloot. We did that also with the local community, and we had 1,000 trees sponsored by Melansian's plants. But this was all being done before Nelson Mandela became president. And the moment he was out of prison, we made contact with him. It's actually quite emotional at the time, because we actually went into Alex and we planted the first trees down the main street of the traditional old main street of Alex with crowds of people, and we started planting. And Madiba and I, on our knees, were planting trees, and the next minute a lady threw a hose pipe over the fence, because we planted one right out. In fact, the one that Madiba planted was right outside her house, and she insisted that we bless it, and she got the hose pipe and was throwing water over the tree, and we had to bless it and all the rest of it. And then Madiba's security said to me, "You look too much like F.W. de Klerk, and this is Mandela, and you both better get in your cars and stuff off now, because there's going to be trouble." Because people were coming home and it was getting dark and all the rest of it. And that was the beginning of one of my first experiences. And then we used to go undaunted into many places. We got to know all the local communities in all the different townships, the length and breadth of the country, to be exact. And we were welcomed in there, and we planted trees. We started putting down boreholes, and I got lost in Soweto several times, and I was shown the way out. I went in for tea with people, and it was just a fascinating period. We raised money. We had huge support. Some of them are still supporters of Trees for Africa, and I've always been an eternal optimist. So, I was just one of the people that really spent a lot of time fundraising with Janez. Janez was a leading light. I mean, Janez, really understands what it is to be thinking of global warming and, the greening of South Africa. And we had this incredible fundraiser in Sandton City, in the big convention center there. With 1,000 people, and we sold tickets and sold tables. It was just incredible, the amount of support we had, and that was just the best of society and people who wanted to make a difference in South Africa. I must say the media, they really followed us everywhere. If there was a tree planting in a township, they were there, and we got great exposure for the local communities as well that were involved. I remain a patron of Food and Trees for Africa, and I will continue to always work with them and for them as much as I can in my own way as I grow older.
Happy birthday, Food and Trees for Africa. I wish you nothing but goodness.
Wishing many more years to come.
I will hope that you're gonna grow more and more and help us to green the whole wide world in the coming few years.
So happy birthday, Food and Trees. Kula ungakhokhobi.
How crazy were those times? I can just imagine. KK has so much energy and passion. I can see him digging trees and then getting pulled off here and going and having tea at people's houses, running away from people as well. I can just see it all happen. Books need to be written about this stuff. Folks, another person who has been instrumental in the great leadership and the foundation that Food and Trees for Africa, one of the founder members. You always have to have someone who is willing to put their hand up, someone who, against all odds, is willing to take the journey forward, the dream. And it's a selfless and a very brave journey, as well as having vision. This person, folks, is someone who is part of the groundwork, part of the great foundation of Food and Trees for Africa, and is part of this wonderful celebration that we are able to celebrate today. 30 years would not have been possible without Jeunesse Park.
Hi, my name is Jeunesse Park, and I founded Food and Trees for Africa. In 1989, I came back to South Africa with my family as Mandela was being released to contribute to the new democracy. I had a vision that we needed to do something to address climate change, whilst at the same time uplifting the quality of life, particularly for those disadvantaged in the townships and the homelands. I had known about climate change since the 60s, and I knew then what was coming and what is here now. The first chairman that I had on board, Clive Wilde, understood the same, and we quickly gathered a group of really fantastic people, from Professor Brian Huntley from the National Botanical Institute to Keith Kirsten, the gardener of South Africa, the wonderful Iron Lady of the Jewish National Fund, Isla Feldman, Mike Edwards, the head of then Forestry South Africa. We had the Institute of Parks and Recreation and representatives from others on our board, and from the South African Nurserymen's Association, Roy Trendler. And this board came together with the shared vision that we could really do something to change lives and landscapes for the better. We held a very high-profile launch thanks to the Hirsch family, who gave us their garden, and Clem Santa, who was the keynote speaker, and received an enormous amount of publicity and media, people saying that this was an idea that's time had come. People who heard about it joined with the movement. Somebody like Sam Mklungu heard me on the radio, and within 2 days had given up his job and come to work with me. And there are too many people to note here who've contributed to the incredible success that this organization became. Food and Trees for Africa became my life. I always thought that if we created enough awareness and educated enough people about the dire consequences of the climate crisis that was then impending, and in which we now sit, we could change things. The organization has enriched my life in so many ways. There have been so many memories, too many to list here, and too many people who contributed to the organization to list here. So I can't say what my best memories were, but being on stage with Mandela several times, launching the Nelson Mandela Park and the education centers were certainly highlights. Winning United Nations awards early on in the 1990s, and then much later on winning climate change awards for the organization. Those were memorable. So quite early on in the early 90s, I realized that food security was a very serious issue. Now, I had been living in Australia and had learned about Bill Mollison, the founder of Permaculture. So in 1991, at my own expense, I brought Bill Mollison to South Africa and sent him on a tour of South Africa to talk at the Development Bank, to conservation organizations, to government and to others. And that was really when permaculture got introduced. And soon after that, we organized the very first permaculture course in South Africa. Women, of course, have played a vital role, and especially in terms of food security, where women and mothers are responsible for feeding their families. I've met such incredible women over the years who've worked so hard to develop better food security for their families and for their communities and for the country. Where do I see this organization in the next 30 years? I don't see the work of Food and Trees for Africa ever ending or not being as important as it is. So, yeah, the most rewarding years of my life were spent there. I loved every moment of it. I loved everybody who worked with me and all the incredible funders who contributed, who had the foresight and the vision to join all those years ago, and many of whom have stayed with the organization. I wish the young people who've taken over Food and Trees for Africa since I left in 2014 the best, and I look forward to seeing where the organization goes into the future.
Okay, happy birthday to Food and Trees. It's so amazing that you've reached 30 years.
And wish you many, many more years of existence, because I think organizations like you are needed for years to come.
More blessings and more positive news, more impacts in the lives of people.
I wish you happy birthday, grow, grow, grow.
Thank you, Janesse, for those wise words and for your effort, energy and dedication that you have put not only into Food and Trees for Africa, but also for Africa as a continent in terms of climate change. Folks, to introduce the next project, which is one of the key areas of Food and Trees for Africa, one of the pillars of the organization is Women in Agriculture. And in order to introduce this, I need to take us back to something that we all know. We all know what a mother is. They're a provider, they're a nurturer, they're a protector. They have wisdom, which sometimes we don't listen to. They feed us, they provide for us, and they are our shoulders to cry on. And what better way to take all of these amazing attributes of women and their leadership and put that into agriculture. And for the last 30 years, women have played such a key part of the backbone of Food and Trees for Africa. The future as well, and the past. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Women in Agriculture.
The Women in Agriculture project is one of the longest successful Food and Trees for Africa projects. The primary objective of the project is to enable food security through education and support.
Women know what their families need, what nutrition that they need, and if they are able to grow their own food and to bring that from a subsistence level to something that is an income-producing operation, they will do it. And most women, especially in the rural areas and in impoverished areas, are negatively affected by climate change. So they need to use agroecology and the techniques that Food and Trees for Africa teaches, along with the infrastructure support and the sorts of training that we do, ensures that those women are able to take what would be a subsistence living up to something slightly more income producing.
Historically, food security projects spend millions on infrastructure without education and support. FTFA take the opposite approach and look at the whole value chain while remaining socially sensitive.
Through our 12 to 18 month long-term interventions, the training encompasses business skills and market research. So it enables project members to integrate their project with the needs of their local community so that they are growing to order, that their off sales are supported effectively, and that increases the sustainability of the projects themselves. So the training includes everything from soil health and composting to production and succession planting, germinations, intercropping, as well as how to ensure your farm and your produce is of a good quality, consistent, and of a quantity enough to really sell and get a reliable income throughout the entire season.
The facts speak for themselves, and as an organization with data at the foundation of everything we do, we select our project for success.
We then match our facilitators to projects specifically and will generally match women facilitators to women projects. We then grow the project at an organic rate to ensure sustainability over time. As the project grows, more women join, and the more women working on a project, the more successful that project becomes.
And my understanding is that their program for women in agriculture is actually yielding more than just the food benefits, the household food benefits, but there's socioeconomic income issues, marketplace issues. There's, I'm sure even the next generation are much better fed, nutritional benefits. So they bring, almost enabling women to become, to mainstream into the agricultural economy. So it's a very relevant, very important and very forward-looking initiative.
These women are effectively running agricultural projects like a well-run business, applying all the support offered with the Food and Trees for Africa Business Box, which focuses on every aspect of an agribusiness.
As subsistence level farming increases and as women are able to draw an income and diversify their income, they're able to employ and empower the community around them. Those seasonal workers are then increasing the local sustainable economy of each of those communities. And it starts with one farmer, it starts with one champion, and those champions need support from Food and Trees, as well as the funders that come on board with us. So the incredible ripple effects that growing your own food and increasing your productivity has in an entire, from one family to the next family, to the neighbors, to the entire town, to the village, we can see those positive effects every season. That yield increases, and so the sustainability of each project increases.
This project benefits the community a lot. Instead of going to the shops in town, they buy the vegetables in our project.
We plant vegetables, onions, spinach, cabbage, and we sell from the community. We give the poor to, if they are not planting here, we give them. And the schools benefit here. If there is a lot of cabbage, we must give them sometimes that some.
So it doesn't just end with the project, it goes beyond the project. It influences the whole community so that people can start growing their food and eating healthy.
It has changed them in a way that they never get bored. They never get bored, they just have something to get busy with. And also they get money after selling the produce. They easily get food, nutritious food.
It has changed the lives of the community and the women a lot.
But these food security projects extend beyond just food security. The caring and the nurturing maternal instinct of women means women have a better understanding of a social fabric.
I think that what then happens is when women are successful, it's a range of things that happen. You have your financial freedom comes out of it, but more importantly, your self-confidence grows. And we all know that for personal development, self-awareness, confidence are real levers of future success in life. So I think, you start off with people being able to have a garden and having surplus spinach that they sell. For me, it's just the patience, just the appreciation for the fact that it is a journey. It is not an event. Development is not an event, it's a journey. And I think perhaps that's another thing that works around these the multiplier effect of the Women in Agriculture program. It becomes a journey for more than one person. So success breeds success, it becomes scalable, people participate because they want to, and then you had a whole lot of new dynamics coming in, and of course how to live a better life for themselves and their families.
As women working together in one place, these vegetable gardens have become a central point for community meetings, women drop-in centers, and support centers.
It's a place where they talk and discuss whilst remaining productive by generating food and money, building a sustainable economy around themselves. So much more than just a food security project.
We will eat, we'll have surplus, we're gonna sell, you're gonna have money. So it encourages women, you can't just be sitting at home and doing nothing. If you've got your hands, if you've got your brains, if you've got the support of other women, then you can come together and work together and do something amazing in the community.
We do motivate each other.
If I don't have oil, if I don't have meal, I know my sisters, they, in their houses, they can help me. We support each other a lot.
Food and Trees for Africa.
The stories we start never end.
Happy birthday, Food and Trees for Africa, and may you continue to blossom.
And thank you very, very much for all the support.
And hopefully in 30 years' time, we're going to be able to say the same thing again, because it's a remarkable and amazing organization.
And we wish you a very happy birthday, and here's to another grand, amazing, auspicious 30 years. Now, those are some amazing gardens that are nurtured and cared for by amazing women. Stories that somebody else will be sitting in 30 years' time, telling them over and over again, that have empowered many, many generations, created small businesses, and supporting communities. Just magnificent. Folks, the very simple analogy that the children are our future leaders can be bandied about quite a bit. But it really is, and that is the sobering thought that we all need to hang on to. Once again, Food and Trees for Africa has taken this concept and made sure that we are instilling good habits, understanding of growing, not only for food, but importance of nutrition, of teaching patience, of teaching understanding of the soil, of Mother Nature, of the earth, of respect for fellow human beings and for the earth that provides them that food. This project, EduPlant, not only provides nutrition and feeds their minds, but essentially determines their trajectory in the world.
We've had a series of partners along the way, but primarily it's about initiating and supporting school-based food gardens where the children are able to learn all about the food system.
Young kids were increasingly not knowing where milk was coming from, and didn't want to touch something that was not, that everything came in a package and it had a brand on it. So just connecting children to food.
They think the food is from the supermarket. So EduPlant is providing us with workshops and giving us method to plant in the very simple and cheapest way.
They learn about the environment and how to produce vegetables and herbs and trees. They learn about habitat support. They learn about soil. And primarily they learn about nutrition and how it's linked to how we produce our food.
The main syllabus for the EduPlant program is Permaculture. And Permaculture is about natural farming methods.
And it culminates in the competition, generally every 2 years. And it's an opportunity for the children to tell the story of their garden.
Participating in the EduPlant, giving our learners opportunity to show off what they are capable of, I think is the best.
My favorite EduPlant moment definitely has to be the 2016 finals. That was my first time attending an EduPlant competition, and just seeing so many learners gathered in one place from all over the country.
I had many beautiful memories in EduPlant program. But one that stands out for me was the year we introduced preschools to the competition. And here I was sitting there as a judge, and then these very little kids come and articulate what permaculture is in their own understanding, using mathematics, I think in their presentation in measuring how far apart seeds should be planted. I couldn't hold my tears. I got up, I distracted the whole judgment, and I hugged them. It was just awesome. I think for me, it's realizing how simple education can be if it's made practical.
EduPlant educators and learners are very passionate, committed, and motivated.
The teachers that participate in our EduPlant program are the champions of our country, resilient and dedicated.
The EduPlant empowers teachers as well. Teachers find it really interesting, and everybody loves nature.
I'm Nomonde Nsundwana. I'm a teacher at SACE Primary. Last year we were fortunate to be EduPlant finalists in mentoring schools. So it was the first time for our learners to move out of the province.
Communities and educators and groundsmen integrated the learnings of a normal school curriculum in with the garden and everything that happens in a garden, all of those natural processes.
The practical activities are easy to replicate and enhances learning.
The EduPlant is a container for all of that knowledge, and it's an incredible way for children to experience nature and for food security to become a very serious place of learning.
Food security has to have some key elements in it. One element is that people are able to be food secure when they are able to grow their own food. And the focus is both at the individual home level, at a school level. With the schools, the food program is done mainly by the Tiger Brands Foundation that offers breakfast in non-fee paying schools. We will come in at the back of that with the support of Food and Trees for Africa as a delivery partner to help these schools do school food gardens. They can play a big role in instilling the love of the soil. How do they then pass that on so that there are multiples, millions of other custodians of the African soil that use the soil for the benefit of humanity and that protect the soil, that kind of protect the indigenous plants. So the only way we can do this is instill this in young people while they are still at school.
And the EduPlant program sees our trainers visit schools across the country. We've supported thousands of schools. We've got 300 on the program currently. The outcomes are incredibly useful. Food security is a consistent issue that we're faced with, but EduPlant is fun. EduPlant is a way for kids to be outdoors and learn. So schools' needs and how the EduPlant has grown over the last 25 years has been an adaptive process.
I have had the privilege of witnessing the evolution of this program.
EduPlant originally was a 1-year cycle with a competition at the end, then it became a 2-year cycle, and we included the cluster programming, which means that we've got a multiplier effect. Now we've got the Edu Hubs from the last year. So EduPlant, the design of the program has evolved over the last 25 years, and I think it's adapted to school needs as well as supporting educators, as well as the needs of schools and nutrition programs in South Africa.
And the debates at the time were, why should you be buying when you can actually also grow in the school or grow in the community for the school so that you get the freshness?
The EduPlant gardens are used for so many different activities, learning, but the majority of the food in the majority of the schools goes to the school nutrition program. A lot of the soup kitchens and the feeding schemes at schools primarily focus on starch and some soy-based and plant-based proteins, but what they lack is fresh vegetables, just simply because of the supply chain. And a lot of rural schools rely on these gardens for fresh vegetables like pumpkin and spinach, cabbage, and everyday vegetables that increases the nutrition of all of the learners at these schools.
A lot of food in our school goes to the school nutrition, especially the grains, because twice a week have to supplement our school nutrition. And with the Department of Education, with the school nutrition, they encourage all the schools in PE to be doing the gardening. So we are definitely sure that they are eating organic food twice a week, even if they are not getting it home. But when they are in school, twice a week they are getting organic food.
And so these EduPlant gardens really do supplement in a very real way because the nutrition is fresh and it's higher in vitamins.
We have seen that the learners, the schools that are thorough EduPlant schools have a much more diverse plate than schools that are not, because they are able to take the harvest that they get from the garden and supplement their feeding schemes.
Malnutrition and undernourishment have a severe impact on the cognitive development, health, well-being, and physical development.
Children are able to concentrate better when they've got full tummies and when they have a higher nutrition level in their diet.
This program has brought about lifestyle changes within the community who now take an interest in their own surroundings and even improved aesthetics.
So what is happening about our school garden is, it is in the center of the township, so it is a sort of a role model. Even a person passing by could see what is happening and copy and do it at home. EduPlant started to give our community indigenous trees and fruit trees in 2011. So we were starting to work with EduPlant in 2011. So we started already with the community.
So that communities and schools are able to produce food not only for the school nutrition program, but as well as for local communities. It provides a space for community members to grow food at schools, and it builds relationships amongst SGB members and neighbors.
With the parents, we are giving them the seedlings so that they are planting. Even the learners, we are encouraging them to have their own gardens at home. So we share. So if we have something, we share. If we have herbs, we share. Most of the time, we share.
During the COVID-19 lockdown, we received heartening stories from across the country. Food was harvested and shared with school communities. One principal decided that she needed to share the seeds and seedling resources with a number of households. This ensured that learners now were implementing and setting up gardens at home. And this phenomenon spread to other regions, and there was food readily available.
So what started initially as a school intervention has grown and now supports multiple homestead gardens as well as community farmers who learn through the EduPlant program. And although those schools were the start, they were the node, they were the beginning of a lot of that training, they increase the network of farmers and outgrowers and skills and knowledge, specifically from permaculture outward to agroecology and income-producing gardens.
EduPlant has created an awareness of the various opportunities in the agricultural sphere.
We've seen so many success stories from our EduPlant alumni. Some of them are pursuing their PhD degrees, and some of them are pursuing careers in the environmental sector. So this goes beyond just growing food.
The EduPlant is often the beginning of a much longer story for a lot of the children that participate not only in the competition but in the workshops over the 2-year cycle.
And one of our students is doing matric now, is in Pandulwa's Agricultural School in Alice. So she was part of the EduPlant during the September holidays workshop. So she got interested and then she go to Agricultural High School.
It opens their eyes to the opportunities not only in the environmental sector but in agriculture as a whole. For many of the kids from special schools, they have a vocational learning from EduPlant that is incomparable. They take those skills and are able to make a career from it, not only because they're able to produce their own food at home, but because they can then start small businesses after school.
A defining moment for us was when we were selected as the training team by the Department of Education to train teachers to unpack the DCAP's agricultural studies programs for teachers who work with special needs learners. This has ensured that our differently abled individuals will be able to access opportunities in the open labor market.
So understanding the food system and growing food means that these kids have a lot more opportunities. They have a lot more choices. And the EduPlant Finals has seen public speakers, influencers, young people who have had an incredible impact on not only their communities, but in middle class and social media areas as well, where people now understand the benefits of permaculture. They understand the extent of how our food systems can influence and change.
I just can't believe the fact that, as a board, we sat around the table to try and solve for issues. And at no point would I have ever thought that EduPlant could grow to being what it is today. Yeah, they say it's small ideas that grow, and a few people can actually be the change makers for the world.
Happy 30th birthday to Food and Trees for Africa. I think it's a phenomenal milestone.
2 more years to touching lives and making a great impact in our country and beyond our shores.
So happy birthday, Food and Trees for Africa, and here's to many more to come.
Well, folks, that is EduPlant, and the most amazing good stories, brilliant stories have come out of the program where youngsters are taught these skills. We've also found that learners that have gone through the program are eventually taking this into tertiary education and making it formal in terms of food security, education, and climate change. Many times in life, we meet the owners of businesses, farmers, head of families who have steadily been going about their work. Not only in their lifetime, but they have taken the lessons and wisdom from past generations and built on it to create their foundation for their true north. They are not secrets. These are wisdoms. Let's find out more about leading donors and businesses and stakeholders that make the magic of Food and Trees for Africa.
One of our secrets is building long-lasting and genuine relationships with our communities. I think that is what makes us special.
We don't impose what the community needs, but then we allow the community to be the ones that come up with their own solutions.
The project must come from the community. We don't just go there saying we could assist you. No, it's the community that they need to realize their needs.
That you're meeting people where they are instead of assuming what they need.
So we tailor-make programs to suit the needs of the community. It speaks directly to the community, and the impact then resonates with the teams that we are working with.
They really do a lot in terms of helping us implement a program which supports the communities that we operate in. And I think that's really excellent. But beyond that, they do it in a way which is really empowering and supporting the communities that we operate in. So I think it's really about what they do and how they do it that really makes them stand out as being such an important partner.
And FTFA is one of the few organizations that are actually empowering people to break away from industrial agriculture and to embrace permaculture, agroecology, and actually empowering small communities and small towns in South Africa.
Communities love working with Food and Trees for Africa. Whenever I give them a call, for instance, and I say, I'm from Food and Trees for Africa, you can just hear from their voices that they're smiling and they're excited to hear from us.
So before we take on any projects, I think it's really important that we understand, the levels of skills or the skills required in a community.
So before we go out on the field, before we even think about tackling a problem, we try and collect evidence to understand why that problem exists.
Food and Trees prides itself on an extremely robust assessment phase, and that really sets the tone for every project.
So that we may not only just fix it temporarily, but create a long-term sustainable solution.
The assessment process is extremely rigorous. We have numerous questions that we go through with potential beneficiaries in terms of understanding what they've got going for them, what they need, what interventions will work, what interventions might not work, and why.
I think just their knowledge and their ability to convey that knowledge to the communities and that run and operate the community food gardens is really incredible to watch. And I think there's such a level of depth in the understanding of community food gardens and the sustainability thereof in the Food and Trees team. So that's always really exciting to see and really exciting to be part of.
There's a lot of research done. There's a lot of expertise and experience on the ground.
FTFA, I would say they're really permaculturist champions. Really obsessed about climate change and responsibility that we have in taking care of our environment.
I think a lot of nonprofits are risk averse, but because we've had really long-term partners, Food and Trees for Africa has been able to innovate.
So that innovation is a really key feature and is encouraged throughout the organization, no matter what level you're at.
And everyone that's in the organization has got expertise and knowledge that they can bring these types of innovations to the table.
There's something around, one, the theme that Food and Trees for Africa has, the fact that it's been agile and innovative, and the fact that it has demonstrated evidence-based examples of what works. So you can see the growth.
The critical element is having individuals in this space that have profound and in-depth knowledge of what we are working with.
FTFA has always been welcoming and flexible, always willing to both teach and to learn through our partnership. And selfishly, FTFA has made my life much easier than it otherwise would be. Their professional handling of the logistics and operations of the African Climate Reality Project, and hiring an absolutely fantastic team whose impactful work makes me proud to be among their colleagues.
I learned a lot about permaculture, about food gardening myself, but also for the organization. I think it was a great partnership. It was a learning partnership, and that becomes so important when we partner with NGOs.
And possibly one of the most important secrets to success as well is our database of beneficiaries. And so we've got this extremely broad database that really gives us a great idea and representation of what kind of projects there are out there, what the various initiatives might be that address those various projects, and the productive capacity that South Africa actually has.
It's the networks that we establish and the ability to use your networks in a very efficient and productive way.
The project is always works because of the experience of the staff that are allocated to do the job.
Everyone has the experience and the knowledge in the agricultural sector, but they also understand social dynamics that come with and the challenges that social dynamics can bring in some of the peri-urban and rural areas that we work.
As a team, we have individuals with vast experience and knowledge and expertise, from your social development specialists to your data specialists. I think that is the reason why Food and Trees is where it is today, because of the expertise as well as the passion.
You know, we are an organization filled with people who really care.
There's passion, there's pride, there's purpose, and there's drive on their side, which really complements the way we work as a business. And I think when your heart's in the right place, you're going to get the right results. And that's what I think is their key to success.
We have some fantastic, passionate people that just love what they do.
So the secret is the support, is that we become part of the community. We are passionate with what we are doing.
They care about the environment, they care about the people of South Africa, and we know that what we're doing has an incredible impact in communities.
Food and Trees for Africa.
The stories that we start
never end.
Happy birthday, Food and Trees.
I wish you all the best. I wish you 100 years so that even other teachers and learners can get more opportunities that we have got from you.
Wish you all the best. Wish you could continue supporting our people.
Sifisela uFood and Trees iminyaka eminingi azoba khona ekanye nathi. Njengoba celebrate lo 30 years nje simfisela eminye iminyaka ekhona nje esisiza as abantu abamnyama.
Well, folks, that really shows you the depth and understanding that goes into any project before it even starts, whether it's the soil, whether it's the data, and whether the climate has even been looked at. It goes far beyond our understanding of simply going in and creating a garden. Brilliant work. We often hear the words organizational culture, wellness, team togetherness being used by many leading organizations. But behind all these words are people with dreams and aspirations who need to be the doers and who make up the sum of the parts of any successful organization. Let's meet the team.
I enjoy working at FTFA because of the culture. It's more like charity begins at home. We have our own established food garden. That we normally go out on Fridays. We spend an hour in the garden, and it's just refreshing. Not sure that you can find that anywhere else.
For me, it's really become a home away from home.
I take the company as a family.
The spirit of Ubuntu amongst our team and our communities.
FTFA has given me a platform to reach people on levels that I only imagined.
They have this way of making you feel accepted, making you feel welcome.
I think it's a company that puts the well-being of their staff at the core front.
And I think part of that is really related to the culture that FTFA has established and really elicits among different employees.
There's an incredible team, almost like a family dynamic in the organization.
As an organization, we have taken an incredibly active role in the wellness of our team and our staff. We have a very high staff retention and very low staff turnover rate.
Staff commitment is based on the support that they receive.
And working in an environment where you can talk freely about your well-being and how you're feeling. And we have these sessions, mindful minutes, storytelling sessions where we get to exchange success stories and talk about the way that our programs are affecting everything that's happening around us.
We also cater for the developmental needs of our staff. There is staff development programs which they attend. We also provide opportunities for staff to develop in aspects outside the scope of the work that we do.
We have access to a skills development coach, Michelle, who really helps us develop our skills as individuals, and then that feeds into the work that we do as teams and as an organization.
My name's Michelle Edwards. I am a professional executive coach. So my sense is that Food and Trees for Africa really sees wellness and people development as an investment rather than an expense.
Having access to an executive coach like Michelle has enabled a lot of us to improve our communication. So going into the field and working with communities, we are able to listen without any expectations, but just to listen to everything that they have to say and to communicate in a very soft and sensitive manner to our beneficiaries.
I have been absolutely amazed at how Food and Trees is able to take what they learn through the coaching and these workshops and really apply it without having it just be something they do.
But then there's also an incredible culture of internal promotion, upskilling of everyone.
Knowing that there's always room for growth in FTFA is always encouraging and just makes you want to work harder and harder.
There's opportunities to move into different positions within the organization, so there's always opportunities for growth. And along with that, there's constant training that we're being offered to improve our skills, our hard skills to do our jobs.
Food and Trees for Africa run regular management workshops, and I had the privilege of attending one. And in my experience, it was very different to the way other organizations do these types of workshops. It was, there was a lot of learning, there was insight, it was inspiring, and my sense is that employees really got a lot out of it.
I love working with other FTFA teams. It's like putting together pieces of a puzzle and getting this big picture, and it's always fulfilling to see how each department plays a significant role in ensuring a food secure nation, and it's honestly the most fulfilling job ever.
We at KwaZulu-Natal have had the privilege of working very closely with teams across FTFA, every single program. We've become a FA with all the elements of our organization.
Internally within the organization, it leads to a lot more of a collaborative environment.
Everyone's so open to helping and working collaboratively, because there's always room for collaboration, there's always room to learn from your colleagues, and that's really what I like about working at FTFA.
Working for Food and Trees for Africa has been a really special experience. It hasn't felt like work, it's felt like being part of a family.
So that has been extremely helpful in us being able to deliver.
We work with amazing people from different backgrounds. You know, we share different experiences, and that's what makes who we are as Food and Trees, the diversity in the organization.
Happy birthday, Food and Trees for Africa, and everybody who's been part of our beautiful, beautiful past and our incredible future.
May you go from strength to strength. And I'm very grateful, thanks to Jeunesse Park and to Chris Wilde and all the staff who've put their strength and energy into keeping this the leading environmental organization in South Africa.
And I wish you 30 more productive and abundant 30 years.
So continue doing good work. Thank you.
Well, folks, those are the wonderful people that make up the team of Food and Trees for Africa. And thank you for their beautiful birthday wishes, nice and colourful, and all that makes up this organisation. Well, guys, it's taken me a long, long time to get our very next guest onto my chair in my lounge, and I am so very excited. And what a more fitting way than at the birthday celebrations of Food and Trees for Africa. Folks, I have Mpho Mahanyele on my couch, and I am delighted to have her chatting with me. Mpho's an entrepreneurial executive specializing in business development and strategy. She has a legal background and works primarily in the insurance industry. Mpho is an executive director of Chedza International and Careboiled, and sits on the board of two multinationals, MLC Quantity Surveying and Crawford Loss Adjustment. Folks, it's an honor and a pleasure to welcome Mpho to our lounge.
Thank you, Tanya. What a pleasure to be here and see you in your full colors. I mean, your garden. I've been wanting to be here for so long, to be with the Queen of Gardens. But it's an absolute pleasure to be sitting on your couch today. Looking forward to it, and especially at a time like this when we celebrate a whole 30 years of Food and Trees for Africa, and 30 successful years.
Indeed.
For that matter.
Indeed.
So it's only been a pleasure serving with you on the board.
Thank you very much, Mpho, and the honor is equally mine. So the big question is, how is it that insurance, strong women are linked with climate change?
I think it's a very strong link, because where I work in the insurance industry is on assessments. So we deal with commercial incidents that happen on a daily basis. your oil spills on the roads, your oil spills in water, your chemical companies that are blowing up, and the impact that that has on the environment. I mean, you would see right now that we're going to COP26, and we're going to COP26 as South Africa on a back foot, where we have to readjust our targets, in fact, to say how quickly can we try and have a transformational agenda around how we take climate change issues as corporates, as citizens, as people of South Africa. So the insurance industry is actually the first people to see these incidents when they happen. And for me, serving both on Food and Trees for Africa and serving on an insurance company, there was no way that I wouldn't be affected by environmental issues. I can't preach one thing on the one side, and then at work, it doesn't matter that it's just another incident. It's not just another incident. It's an incident that affects future generations. And for me, I felt that this is a space that I need to involve myself more in, entrench myself more into it. And hence, I've even moved to grow my studies around the sector.
So. I believe you're going back to school.
Yes,
No.
I'm doing my master's in law. And
you never sit still. But I just want to touch on the COP26.
Yeah.
Is that it's quite a sadness that we are on the back foot.
Yes.
But yet I am very pleased to say and very confident that Food and Trees certainly is not where we sit as an organisation to offer that.
Yes.
Expand on that a bit more.
I think when you look at it, it's our attitude towards environmental issues as a whole, because you would know that anything that's not penalized, that doesn't have repercussional effects, is never taken seriously. So it's about how are environmental issues positioned in our country. How did we get to this point? I think we got to this point because our business has always been business for profit, and not business looking at businesses and government initiatives and ourselves as a people in terms of what is the impact of how we carry ourselves when it comes to environmental affairs.
It cannot only be about profit. We need to look at it holistically.
Holistically, absolutely. I mean, it's always been an issue of produce, use, get to the consumer, and then you throw it away. But that has an impact.
And that's the waste issue.
That's the waste issue.
Correct.
And now we have to change our mindset totally to look at how do we create sustainability? How do we become cognizant of impact of what we do, what we produce, what we use on the environment? And I think that's the change that needs to happen. We have to move from linear economic models to more circular economic modules that are more sustainable in terms of the environment. And lucky for us, we have a very responsible stock exchange in South Africa that has encompassed these kind of initiatives and been a big driver of it, because you would see that things like environmental social governance has become a prerequisite on government boards that sit on the stock exchange, which tells you that they're taking it very seriously.
They are getting there,
Yes.
but we still have a long way to go.
Absolutely.
I think that's where governance in terms of Food and Trees, and as the chair and leading the organisation, making sure that all those blocks are in place, has poised the organisation to be that go-to.
Yes. Being a representative of climate change initiatives in South Africa. Also having 2 climate change standards that have been accredited. That's a huge milestone for an organization as small as Food and Trees.
100%.
The fact that Food and Trees is able to calculate carbon tax speaks to aligning strategies with governance, with innovation. And those 3 for me are very important, and that's what's led us to be where we are today, to be in the forefront of not just being an organization that asks for donor money, but we're actually now an organization that's able to have a voice on strategic initiatives that have an influence, a big influence on issues of the United Nations, global issues that affect each and every one of us.
Not only in South
Africa.
And I
Absolutely.
think that is such testament to the work that's been done, the data that's been captured, the information, and the strategy going forward.
And a simple thing like we've planted the biggest number of trees in South Africa. Not because we were asked to. Who came up with that mandate? Who foresaw that you have to start planting trees now to make that change? From that single tree that was planted. Today we speak about our IT systems are so solid. Our CEO has done a phenomenal job in terms of IT systems and making our business to be more digital. Technology also plays a big role. And we're able to now account for where we planted tree, who planted that tree, is that tree growing, is it giving food, is it giving shade, what role is that tree playing?
The geo mapping blows my mind.
Yep.
The fact that every single tree has a story.
Yep.
And it is accounted for. And that not many, I don't think many people, as a non-profit, many organizations could actually go back and pay testament to that.
And I think the one that stands out for me, Tanya, is the story of one of our sponsors, Konica Minolta.
Yes.
And what they've done is planted trees for every footstep that Mandela has taken. Just to track his life across South Africa nationally with a tree footprint. It's one of the amazing success stories. And then to take it all the way to Robben Island, planting trees there.
Indeed.
Greening initiatives on Robben Island. It's really so many success stories that you can look back on Food and Trees.
And the fact that most people believe that Food and Trees is only about food and trees.
Yeah.
The depth of the organization has just grown in leaps and bounds of being able to identify the needs. And as a leader and as the leader of the board, you have been instrumental in that.
Yes. I think it's a team effort, Tanya. It's not even just me because our role is oversight. But we have young people in Food and Trees that come with such fresh ideas. But the biggest underpinning principle has been transparency.
Correct.
And driving, which was the need for the technology, was to say to clients, if you put your money in Food and Trees, you can always track it on a live system. No matter what you do with Food and Trees, what your project, however much you put into a project, where that money is spent, who it's spent on, what was bought, can be tracked back to a live system, a live data capturing system. And that was all done within Food and Trees. It took many years to build that system, but today we have it.
Indeed.
And that gives credibility, accountability, and comfort to people who put their money, our donors.
Indeed, especially to the corporate donors.
Absolutely.
And that accountability is, I believe, what has been lacking if we have to talk about loosely within South Africa.
Absolutely.
Which is always very comforting to know.
Yes.
So, Paul, for those folks that are watching and realising that Food and Trees is governed by a board, it must make them quite nervous, I think. Give us a little insight into the board.
Tanya, we're very fortunate that on the board of Food and Trees for Africa, first of all, it's very diverse.
Yes.
It's run at a very, mostly informal, very serious, but also very informal, because what we like to encourage on that board is participation and value, because each of those board members has so much value to add to the board. And our culture is that when we meet, we would normally start with each person sharing some of the experiences they've had in their specific industry at a certain time.
Yes.
Yourself. I mean, you're such a big brand on gardening initiatives, on greening initiatives, and the role that you play in developing communities as well in your own individual capacity. There's just so much to unlock. But you also have such a big network of people that you speak to. So you have direct access to feedback that the organization needs, because you're on the ground all the time and listening to different levels of people. Organizations are built by people.
Correct.
And each person has value to bring to the table. And the Board of Food and Trees for Africa certainly does that. And I'm definitely not discounting Chris and the role that he plays in putting all the content together for the board.
Correct.
And executing exactly what the board says. He takes it back to the organization. You know, sometimes you have a broken telephone kind of issue in organizations, but we don't suffer from that at Food and Trees.
No.
And maybe sometimes that's the wealth of staying small. Because the bigger you get, the bigger you lose your message. So sometimes when you're small, it's easier to translate.
And there is a sense of intimacy.
Yes.
And family.
Yes.
And Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
It really has been a beautiful morning spent with you. And God bless you, and may you continue to guide this organization in the way that you have and moving forward for the next 30 years.
Thank you so much, Tanya. May Food and Trees for Africa continue to grow, to nourish, and to feed many nations, and also to change our climate change issues, to help us with the carbon emission issues, because they really have it right. So we wish it many more successful years, even beyond us being on that board.
Indeed.
But thank you for having me so much.
Right, folks, well, that's a little insight into the mechanisms and the business aspect of Food and Trees for Africa, our wonderful chairman and leader, Paul. And now let's go and find out a little bit more about the other current projects that Food and Trees for Africa is busy working on right now.
One such project is the Enterprise Orchards. South Africa has a highly developed fruit industry, but it can be very difficult to access for emerging farmers. So Enterprise Orchards, which falls under the Feed Africa program, has been specifically designed to reduce these barriers of entry into the formal fruit supply chains, and it offers strong income opportunities for rural and peri-urban farmers. The Enterprise Orchards initiative focuses on high-density orchard culture in communities that grow specifically for agri-processing and production without the need for commercial equipment, thereby suiting the social economic conditions of rural and peri-urban areas. By implementing a methodology of very dense planting of fruit and nut trees and encouraging farmers to diversify their crops by planting multiple fruit species, multiple varieties, cover crops, as well as support crops and cash crops, orchards produce maximum yields from a minimum area of land and produce fruit throughout the year, thereby providing a consistent and diversified income to the farmer. Each Enterprise Orchard initiative runs over a 4 to 5 year period due to the nature of fruit production. Food and Trees for Africa also adopts bio-intensive agricultural techniques by selecting specific rootstocks that are specific to the social development challenges that come with soils. The program is developed by innovating across supply chain and procurement, around program managers and facilitators on the ground, and by looking at global and local fruit market trends such as preserves and jams. Enterprise Orchards not only provides orchard culture training, trees, planting resources, and the required infrastructure, but it also progresses Food and Trees for Africa's community educators and the natural farmers we work with to create high-density orchards, food and income security for the South African peri-urban and rural communities.
The Market Gardens initiative supports existing community gardens to become income producing. Even though these microfarms are not producing at the scale of a commercial farmer, by placing equal emphasis on technical skills and social dynamics, these micro-vegetable gardens have the potential to produce a significant amount of food. The program focuses on bio-intensive agriculture and utilizes agroecological farming methods, giving priority to ecologically sound principles. The intervention, which typically runs over 18 months, includes the accredited FTFA business box, which includes every aspect of running an agribusiness.
An 18-month intervention is vital because we're looking at the sorts of training that ensures that seed harvesting can happen after a yield has completed every 6 months. So, in effect, the training needs to happen over an extended amount of time in order for the farmers to really fully understand how their site works and how to sustainably harvest as well as replant for a consistent yield.
So in the market garden, we focus with doing the business training full on so that they can run their own business. They can know how to budget. They can go and approach the potential buyers, sign the contracts, treat this as a business.
Market gardens fulfill a gap in not only in the market, but in terms of farmer support. Often subsistence farmers are not yet at a commercial level, but they're growing and they need support in that growing. They need training in terms of marketing their produce and ensuring that their produce is high quality and consistent. Market gardens are that next step. They ensure that communities have access to a diverse range of fresh, healthy vegetables, but they also ensure that subsistence farmers are making enough of an income to really be sustainable.
The skills are transferred through theory and practical days. Through our network, Food and Trees for Africa seeks to establish a consistent market and supply chain for the project, and also provide infrastructure supports focused around irrigation and fencing, and may include other items such as modest pack housing and seedling tunnels. Market garden projects are different to food garden projects, whereby the market garden project selection works with projects that are already growing food approximately for 5 years, and these projects need to be taken to the next level.
So after 18 months, this is a really good start for a market garden to be a sustainable business and to produce a beautiful set of vegetables for a really good, reliable market. We do have an exit strategy after that so that Food and Trees for Africa keeps an eye on those farms. We have quarterly visits for a year or two afterwards as well, just for troubleshooting and procurement support. But mostly we look at really happy farmers at the end of those 18 months.
From growing food for just the family to growing and selling food. Food and Trees for Africa community-based market gardens are characterized by the ability to sell a diversity of naturally grown produce relatively consistently, which provides a platform for social and economic development on a grassroots level. This proves to be a foundation for healthy lifestyles through physical activity, collaborating and sharing, communicating with multiple stakeholders, and generating an income. It is a place for relaxation and recreation and provides the community with a source of ongoing teaching and respect for the environment whilst taking pride in one's community.
The daily going to the project, working in the garden, you become healthy. The smell of herbs, the veggies, it's sort of a social gathering because you could even invite other people. You show them, look, the flowers that we plant, the herbs to sort of repel pests. You can teach, you can invite the community to come look at this beauty. It's food that is included with beauty, with trees, agroforestry, everything is in one patch. But it's marvelous because we could be proud and involve the community at large. You're looking forward to working because you could see the results in front of you.
Garden in a Bucket is an initiative that focuses on the development of micro gardens for household and homestead gardens, as well as smaller community-based organizations through supplementing household nutrition with a diversity of vegetables over as much of the year as possible. This initiative established satellite gardens around a primary community and market garden intervention. Community members attend a one-day introduction to permaculture workshops before receiving a bucket containing seeds and/or seedlings, compost or soil additives, organic fertilizer, hand tools, as well as a complete growing green manual.
So the growing green booklet, they can refer to it and copy whatever is there because it's a simple manual that we can just follow through so that it assists them when we are not there to plant at home. So it's a good impact because I was just doing the one in the informal settlements. So you find it's just a small shack but behind the shack there's marvelous food garden that they can eat healthy in the informal settlement. And it changes the whole community, because when they see someone's growing, they will come ask questions, how are you doing this? You've got a manual to refer to, you can start your own, we can exchange seeds. So it creates that bond or that working togetherness in the communities.
Each initiative runs for 6 months, with regular monitoring, evaluation, and reporting, which is largely done by social networks that are established specifically to aid households in starting and maintaining their gardens for the full period.
While surplus food can be sold or donated, the aim of Garden in a Bucket is to improve food security resilience and networks in vulnerable communities.
Food and Trees for Africa.
The stories we start
never end.
Happy 30th birthday to Food and Trees for Africa.
Here's to another 30 years of growth, of abundance, and continued work in various communities in South Africa.
I can't wait to see what the next 30 years holds.
As you can see from a tree planting organization, it certainly has spread its wings and taken where the needs are through clever thinking, innovative thinking, in forging the way ahead to secure areas and to make provision for where there is need. And FTFA has certainly done that in a brilliant, brilliant way. Now, much like a family dreams of building their home, of aspiring to personal and intimate goals, so too do the individuals who make up this amazing team, have dreams and aspirations for Food and Trees for Africa. We logged into their dream bubble to see what this looks like for them.
In 30 years, I see Food and Trees for Africa that they will expand.
Because doing the same thing that they're doing in South Africa and other countries around Africa and making that long-lasting impact in other places other than here.
If we can achieve a greater acceptance and culture of trees and food security through what we do through the organization, I would be very happy.
Being able to push for people to drift away from being fossil fuel dependent,
by helping the whole planet to live a green lifestyle.
And really lead, not just adapt, lead and be at the forefront of what would need to happen to still address the issues of food security, climate change, and caring for the environment.
The way that technology can transform Food and Trees for Africa would be in the way that it streamlines operations, in the way that it improves our communication with people all over the country.
By giving critical information of how to grow food, especially to disadvantaged communities.
We're going to ensure that budgets also cater for technological advancement and development of our beneficiaries.
I do believe that we are the go-to, and with our technology base, it will become even better. So that's what the team thinks, guys, for the future of Food and Trees for Africa. Exciting times ahead, but wait, it's not over yet. Now, when we all think of non-profits, we often have warm, fuzzy feelings and the good work that they do. But being a group of professionals, there is a lot more behind FTFA. In 2017, the organization took a step back to ask where they wanted to be in the future. And after a lot of strategy and meetings and workshops, the board approved a rather interesting way forward. And it's not quite what you may think. Instrumental in heading up this new strategy is our executive director, Mr. Chris Wilde. With a background in economics, he was an analyst before finding more meaning in social development, the environment, and food security. His first Food and Trees for Africa project was in 2008, and within a few years, he was the official partner in the Eastern Cape. He was appointed to Executive Director in November 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Chris Wilde for the exciting way forward for Food and Trees for Africa.
one of the lesser spoken about things, but equally as important, is the governance of the organization and how strong the board of directors is of Food and Trees for Africa. They are diverse. I mean, collectively, there must be 100 and something years of experience there. And I think what is nice about it is that they support me incredibly and support the team incredibly in the work that we do. Just looking at the profile of some of the board of directors, yes, we have a lot of experience, but where do they come from? You know, we have a range of skill sets, from managerial skill sets through to risk, through to biotech, through to media and marketing. And I think that, you know, this diversity of board and this diversity of skill sets also lends itself to our ability to innovate in the direction that we're going in. Our board meetings are quite dynamic. We speak about all sorts of topics, ranging from water and renewables and recycling. We speak about politics, economics, technologies, new laws that have come in, and all of this plays a very important role in how we look at Food and Trees' position within the country and within the ecosystem. A few years ago, the board took the decision to really have an internal kind of think and workshop session about the future of Food and Trees for Africa, and there were a lot of things that were brought to the table. So out of that workshop session, we were able to identify some key resources and capabilities that the organization had, as well as our key competencies. And from that, we were able to develop a strategy, and that strategy obviously is now in process as a midterm strategy, but we have taken an active decision to move into the technology space. Obviously, you know, you can't just say we're going to move into technologies. It's a little bit more complex than that. But when you combine that with our knowledge economy and our 30 years of history and experience, you can start to get an idea of what you should be looking at and where you should be going. We've also looked at technologies in the sense of data mining. We also have a view to things like machine learning and AI, which, when people think of an environmental and food security nonprofit, it's not the first thing that comes to mind. It has been an interesting journey. We've learned a lot in this process. I've learned a lot in this process, but I do think it is the correct direction. I think organizations and companies that aren't looking at data right now won't be relevant in the next decade. So we are trying to look at technology in the sense that with data and with the capabilities that exist in the world in terms of technology, things like LiDAR and radar and drones and the Internet of Things, that these things can all be used for good. We want to be able to utilize the technology that is basically being developed the world over for social development in South Africa and Africa, and basically improve the impact of our interventions. Ultimately, as an executive director, my job is to translate this strategy into an effective execution. And I think that we shouldn't just talk on the one side. Yes, we're aiming in the right direction. We've got some great governance and leadership, but you also can't detract from the team and their ability to implement and their ability to be effective. I think this combination of good governance and effective execution really, I feel privileged to work at an organization like Food and Trees where we have this ability to have both elements. So I think one of the interesting points about it is that you've got to remember Food and Trees was formed in 1990, and even the language of our initial memorandum was of the time. For example, we spoke about global warming, not global climate change. Over the years, a lot of science, a lot of new things about social development and interventions have come to light. And we have had to adapt over the years. Our core mission hasn't really changed. We know what we're doing in the environmental, in the climate, in the food security space. We know that. Our language and the challenges along the way have changed. The context of our environment has changed. but we're still doing what we were originally formed to do. And I think one of the challenges in adopting this new strategy was looking at this context and saying, well, what were we originally formed to do in 1990? And saying, well, let's translate this into the modern context. What are we going to be doing? Like, we couldn't possibly have been speaking about drones and some of the things, that existed then. But our actual ethics, our core ethos of what we are all about still exists. The challenge was really adapting it to our current environment. And I think that forms part of the basis of our core strategy. So speaking about technologies and the path that we've decided to go down, we have developed a platform. And I'd like to introduce it to you now. It is called Footprint.
The paradigm of business has shifted. We must think beyond what we are and take steps towards what we do, what we believe in. True sustainability means responsibility. You cannot grow if others are left behind. As corporates, businesses, and organizations, we have a mandate to strengthen social fabric and build human capital. If we are to walk a path of prosperity together, we need to lead, do, give back, play our part in uplifting communities and support causes that matter. But how do you know that the social investments you make have the impact you want to achieve? How do you know that your resources are going to the right place? Introducing Footprint, Food and Trees for Africa's Beneficiary Impact Platform. Footprint is a novel data-driven application designed to assist your teams in maximizing success with their social investments. The system utilizes assessment data across thousands of existing and potential projects to match your support with committed beneficiaries in line with your strategy. Feeding in 30 years of experience and tracking more than 150 data points, Footprint simplifies the intervention process by guiding selection and aiding decision-making. The technology utilizes scorecard algorithms to rank beneficiaries and identify key areas needed to improve their chances of sustainability. With the help of our friendly assessment team, Footprint will provide you with objective data and better insight on your interventions. Regardless of your strategy, framework, project type, or needs, you need an accurate way to measure your investment impact and easily report on the information that matters to you. In essence, Footprint allows you to see where your money should go and what it has done. Walk the path of development with us and leave behind a legacy. Footprint, where technology meets social investment, and innovation by Food and Trees for Africa.
So let's speak a little bit about Footprint and what the benefits are of the platform and what donors can expect from the platform itself. So we've run a lot of projects over the years, and we have a very good idea of what makes a successful project. And what we've managed to do in this platform is we are taking that data and those metrics and what we understand about running successful projects, and we're trying to put it back into the idea of initial beneficiary assessment and selection and decision making along the project as well. Obviously, part of this platform will then be to say, well, what's my impact? And you'll be able to look at a beneficiary from where they started to where they are, and you will be able to quantitatively understand what your impact is in relation to the funding and your intervention. And this will be an incredibly powerful tool for funders and donors, particularly when they are interested in increasing and maximizing their impact. So lately I've been getting asked the question, why go down this road? And the answer is very simple. We initially built Footprint for ourselves and to improve our impact and improve our interventions. But when you go down this road and you see the capabilities of what it can do, we said, let's put it together for everyone to be able to use as well. And so that's what Footprint is. So one of the unique elements of Footprint, which I don't think you will find anywhere else, is that we have not only built in a situational scoring system to the platform, but we're actually looking at behavioral elements as well. And this is what I think makes it unique. You see behavior being utilized in all other aspects or many other aspects in the world related to finance and kind of media and all sorts of things. Why not apply it to social development? Because ultimately we're still dealing with people, and by putting forward a behavioral element into the scoring system, what we've been able to do is identify beneficiaries which can be supported beyond food security, beyond environment. Anyone will be able to utilize Footprint in order to improve the impact. So it doesn't really matter what your strategy is, what your internal framework or your internal log frames are. You will be able to still identify really strong beneficiaries that fit in with your strategic profile, and you'll be able to fund them in a way which will improve your impact in line with your organizational goals. So if you are interested in utilizing Footprint or even the potential power of Footprint, what we're saying to people is we're not putting it necessarily live in the sense of you can go and log in right now. We'd like you to sign up because we want to understand how you want to use it. So this project has taken a long time and it has finally come to fruition. And if you're interested in what we're doing and you want to get involved in Footprint, go to www.footprint.org.za and sign up. And we'll be in contact with you soon.
Well, there you go. That is an amazing project, taking the data that has been captured over the 30 years, putting into good work, making sure that there are metrics, there are measurements, to know that our donors and funders are getting the best information that they require and that we can predetermine the outcome. An amazing project, Chris. We know that you have put in loads and hours into this. We welcome the Data Project into the future, the new technologies of Food and Trees for Africa as part of our 30th birthday. But before we go, I am inviting Paul back to the chair. And of course, what is a celebration without a beautiful birthday cake? Look at that, Paul! Oh my word!
Look at that!
Look at that! I give you as the chair to blow this out on your count.
We're gonna do it together.
Okay, on your count of one.
Happy birthday, Food and Trees for Africa!
You go, girl. Folks, we do get to eat it just now. From Mpho and myself, I hope that you have beautiful insight and new vision into this organization called Food and Trees for Africa, of which we proudly represent. God bless you all. Stay safe. Till our next birthday celebration. Goodbye.